Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Looking at tonight's 10-game slate and taking a look at some pitchers on both FanDuel and DraftKings.
And hold on a second there. Things have changed since you've left, pal. We do punch out calls now on the punch out. So this isn't the punch out though.
No, this is the nail down. So if you want to grab a hammer and just do that or something, I think that would be more acceptable for the title. We'll get a game plan and we'll figure that out. We'll work through it. It's all new stuff,
Well, I guess we're doing punch outs on everyone now. There's punch outs everywhere.
So what are we gonna do for the trot?
Well, I know of a farm, and maybe I can go grab one of their horses and borrow it for just the intro or something. And just like have it here. Yeah, have it here like pooping and peeing on the floors and stuff.
So that's good because, speaking of that, we got, a lot of bad pitchers on tonight's slate, but it's kind of split in between the middle. There's bad and there's really good.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few options we can sort of look at here, like most nights, but yeah, there's some ugliness to this slate. It's not they can't all be supermodels, sometimes they're just you got to look deeper, It's about what's on the inside, Jason.
Yeah, which one of these pitchers are really going to make me laugh? Look at the first game here. You got Orioles and Red Sox. You got Kevin Gausman versus Stephen Wright. You look at this game, obviously in Fenway, remotely Hitters Park now in the summertime. And Gausman, against his team, it's kind of hard to really pick on the Red Sox. But Wright is still definitely an interesting play. I can't get behind him in cash games still, even though he has been really consistent. But you look at this time, it's Baltimore seeing him twice within the span of a couple of games there. So there's a lot to like about Wright, though.
Yeah, I think he hashtag good.
Dude,
I think he's hashtag good. He's really impressed me. He wasn't really on my radar until after sort of this nice little stretch here. And I'd say after the Orioles game, I kind of was like, oh, hey, this guy might be good. And he's just continuing to be solid. So I'm not afraid of this matchup tonight necessarily. You always have to worry about Machado and Chris Davis, but I don't see Chris Davis having much success against sort of Wright stuff,
Yeah, no,
that could be a 2 or 3 strikeout game for him.
Oh, definitely. And I kind of think that's where, strikeout wise, I think you can find him around that 6 to 7 mark tonight. And you look at this Baltimore team, they strike out quite a bit against right-handers, 23%. Obviously, a knuckleball's a little different, but you just look, Wright's worked deep into games, throwing 6+ innings and 10 to 12 starts this season. That's what you want for cash games, but he's kind of gotten to a higher level of price where he's still a knuckleballer, still a little bit unreliable for me to roster in cash games. There's a couple of guys I like a little bit better, like a Marco Estrada or a Kluber. So I think that's kind of why he falls into a GPP, format for me. If it was a different slate, then I would kind of look at him as a cash gamer. But I think I just like a couple other, he's been stable, so I can't even knock him for not being stable. It's just, I kind of prefer a long track record of not choosing knuckleballers in cash.
No, I totally get that. But in terms of him as an individual sample instead of all the knuckleballers, he's been pretty dominant for a knuckleballer. In terms of consistency, because it seems like every game, he's not giving up more than 3 earned runs ever. So I kind of like his floor, but yeah, 11K kind of makes it okay, your floor is really 20. Your floor is not really 15, which I think his floor actually is. So in terms of that, yeah, I agree for cash, but really strong tournament option could get you 30. If the knuckleball and that movement's working, Chris Davis is just gonna be flailing at the wind. So
yeah,
you do have to worry about Trumbo and Machado, but other than that,
Yeah, that's the thing. There are some power bats. It's summertime in Fenway. a couple
Yeah.
mistakes and a couple of balls that don't move,
Right.
and those are getting taken advantage of. But that's the scary part.
Yes.
And a guy priced
Right.
that highly. So
For sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Next game here, you got Blue Jays and Phillies. Marco Estrada versus Jeremy Hellickson. Over under of 8.5. Toronto, sizable favorites there, -160. Estrada's a guy who I like. He is my cash game guy in that regards. He's a little bit cheaper than Wright on DK. He's
I,
really cheap on FanDuel at 8,600.
I'm disappointed in you. You are secretly, and I know this, once you close the laptop and like then you turn like the camera screens out and it's just all Philly and Odubel Herrera and like Cesar Hernandez jersey or Fernandez jerseys. I know it is. I know they're all behind you. You sneak those guys in as value plays almost every slate. I see you.
I do,
And
but
you're going against them today. What happened?
Marco Estrada's been. I mean, Marco Estrada's due for some regression, but it's not going to happen tonight. And really, I mean, outside of those two, I mean, Cesar Hernandez is kind of faded off into the sunset. But Odubel Herrera is still kind of one of my favorite plays on the Phillies. But you look at them. I mean, 28th in WOBA. I mean, still a heavy 22% strikeout rate against righties. And you look at Estrada. I mean, 189 BABIP, low ground ball rate. His FIP's pretty high. I think the regression is coming fairly soon, but it won't be in this matchup.
Yeah, and in terms of righties, the Phillies they're not quite Braves Padres going back to 2015, but they're close. They're in like the next tier up. So not in good company. I love this matchup, obviously. Big favorites. You got to like Estrada and what he's been doing of late. Kind of like Stephen Wright, but he's in a much better matchup. So you got to like that for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit better ballpark, better matchup. I think that's kind of why Wright's taken off the table for me in cash games. I mean, if there was no Estrada, if there were some other guys up top that were in different spots, I'd feel a little bit better about it. But overall, I think Estrada's a pretty safe play. And I think even on FanDuel, I mean, if you didn't want to quite pay up for Kluber or for a Sale or anything like that, you can kind of spin down and feel pretty good in cash games and really get some bats as well.
Well, the interesting thing about Wright, his last start in the GPPs I was in, he was 3% and 4% owned. Now, if you can get that again for Wright, do you do it in tournaments?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, that was surprising against Minnesota. I mean,
yeah.
And I think I think it's going to stay in that range because I think people are going to look at the Baltimore team like, okay, they're going to see him again. Also, there's a lot of bats. I mean, obviously, Baltimore's a much better offense than Minnesota, and if that ownership stays put, I mean, I'm all over him in GPPs because he does have that 30-point upside.
Right.
So, but on the other side of that Phillies game, Jeremy Hellickson.
No. Sorry, Jeremy. Let's move on.
Next one here, you got Reds and Braves. Bud Norris versus Anthony DeSclafani. 8.5 over under. Atlanta -110 favorites. This is maybe the first time in a while that you've seen actually a fairly high run total for some Braves and for really a game in Turner Field in general. But DeSclafani, I mean, he allowed 11 base runners over 6 innings. I mean, didn't factor into the win, gave up a solo shot to Vogt. This guy isn't really a great arm to me, and I think you can kind of, even though the Braves offense is bad, you can kind of stay away there.
I agree, but I do, and I felt this way yesterday as well. The Braves offense is definitely inflated in this Red series. I didn't trust it yesterday either. I don't necessarily trust it today. I think pretty much any pitcher on a good day has the ability to shut down this lineup. So while I'm not buying DeSclafani, okay, and I want to make a push for when I'm running for president. Tehran, I need an L before the H. Tehran. I need that to happen. That is just that's such a better name. So we need that to happen. I'm going to be running a campaign for that. Either way, I do think he's a deep tournament play, actually. He showed some decent upside at the end of last year, and while this year hasn't gone so great so far, it was only It's only really one start, you know?
Yeah, and you look at him. I mean, he had no really workload issues in that first start, so that's kind of a positive. And as you mentioned, I mean, this Braves offense, I mean, anyone's capable of shutting them down. So I guess, I mean, I can see the point that anyone's really in play as far as GPPs against the Braves.
Yeah.
You also look, I mean, there's quite a few lefties in that lineup now. You know, and that's kind of where Desclafani kind of struggles a little bit. So that's where I'm kind of concerned.
Yeah.
But I think
No, I hear you.
I'm with you. I mean, you can look at him in GPPs. For me, I kind of like Wainwright for 200 more. I think he's got a little more K upside. Obviously, I think the floor is much lower, but I think with that Houston strikeout rate, you can kind of look there for tournaments.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I said deep tournament play, as in I think he's going to be 3 to 5% owned, and you can just kind of toss him in and be different. So, kind of like James Shields the other day. Let's hope it doesn't end like that. That hurt my feelings.
I was stopping at a gas station and I literally saw what was going on. I was like, oh my God.
It was a mashing, and they kept him in the game.
Good.
He salvaged himself with like a -5, but it was ugly.
Yeah, talk about a trade that's really going to work out in the White Sox favor.
Oh boy.
But Norris on the other side of that thing, I think you're looking at quite a few Reds bats against him.
Yes, sir.
And they all come on some pretty nice price tags as well. So, but Norris, as always, off the table.
Hashtag Adam Duvall for the All-Star game?
Dude, definitely. No, yeah, definitely.
He's good. He's like hashtag good. So we got 2 hashtag good guys.
We can't really overuse that.
Oh, we're going to use it. We're going to use it quite a bit today and then never use it again. So that's how I do things.
Next game here, you got the Pirates and Mets, Jeff Locke versus Noah Syndergaard. I mean, a rematch from a couple of days ago. And you look at Syndergaard's performance. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it didn't quite meet that price tag expectations. And kind of his thing was, I mean, allowing 9 base runners in a team with some speed is he can't hold guys on, and that's my biggest thing. So if he's walking people and allowing 2 singles, those guys eventually get into second base and get into scoring position. And you look at this Pirates team, I mean, they don't strike out quite as often as you'd like to. So I think this time around on this slate, he's kind of off the table for me.
I guess the question is, do we think Syndergaard is an ace?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Because we've seen aces just totally obliterate this Pirates lineup this year. It's just those second-tier guys, like I think Syndergaard's he is an ace, but he's kind of not on that Kershaw Bumgarner level quite yet for me. But yeah, I think we avoid going after this Pirates lineup just because they do have a bunch of dangerous bats, especially Gregory Polanco today in that matchup. So not perfect, and he is expensive. So I think you go Estrada there in terms of value, but obviously Syndergaard always in play, and I think there's decent odds that he could just totally shut down this Pirates team.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, you look once he's back at home as well, and that's where he's pitched, well for most of his career, his short career. And I think you look at Locke on the other side, even as bad as this Mets offense is, they should be able to provide some run support for the win there.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
And with that being said, I mean, Locke obviously not a guy to play on a full slate either.
No, definitely not.
Next one here, you got the Mariners and Rays over under of 8, Tampa -117 favorites. Nate Karns, Drew Smiley. Nate Karns, a little revenge game action going on here. The Rays offense has been kind of overachieving of late. And I think these games have been fairly high scoring, and I'm kind of staying away from both pitchers.
Yeah, I was kind of in on fading the Rays last night, and they kind of did their thing again. So I'm not going to knock them and say they're overrated. I do think they're a little inflated right now and playing better than they actually are. But I mean, in this series, they've been great. So I'm not too worried about that. And I'm probably avoiding Karns, definitely avoiding Smiley. I just don't like playing any pitcher against this Mariners offense,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, this Mariners offense has been very good of late. And I just look, at those two guys. I mean, they kind of had some up and down starts this season. I think tonight is both going to be one of their down starts.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it seems like Carnes always ends up in these matchups where it's like one guy that's like the mirror image of him, and you're just like, well, I guess this game could go a bunch of different ways, but I don't think you roll with either of them tonight unless you're being a weirdo,
yeah, I mean,
which I am usually, but I don't know if I'm going to be targeting them much.
yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think you're looking at it. At the price tags, it's not really worth it. I still think there's kind of better guys to target down low.
Definitely.
So, next game here, you get the Astros and Cardinals in St. Louis, 8.5 over under. Adam Wainwright, Colin McHugh, St. Louis minus 113 favorites. McHugh, I mean, much like the Mariners, you're never really targeting against the Cardinals offense, especially on a full slate. But Adam Wainwright, I mean, he's been kind of turned around of late. I mean, he's been rather consistent against some pretty good offenses. For that price tag, I mean, I think there is some upside. I mean, you look at the last 2 weeks. I mean, Houston's doing what they usually do: 17th in WOBA, 24% strikeout rate. I mean, it's 25% against righties this year. Wainwright's, I mean, when he has those secondary pitches working, he's filthy, and I think he's starting to kind of figure that out and rely a little bit less on some of his other pitches, and kind of he's getting that feel for, okay, this is what I have to do now.
I just wish he was like 500 less on DK. Like, that's what I want. Like 500 less and I'd be all in. But that's for kind of what he's done and his struggles early in the year. That's a lot for him. But yeah, I do agree he's coming around. I think the Cardinals have a good shot at a win today. McHugh's a little feisty, but I don't think you can touch him tonight. As you mentioned, against this Cardinals team, they just chip away at you, and they have Aledmys Diaz, so you just can't go at the king, you know?
Yeah, and I think Wainer, I mean, let's be clear. I mean, the floor is low against this Houston team, as many pitchers are against them, because, their front six do have some power and can get to you, and it's not like Wainwright has been great this year. So, as he's kind of figuring it out, there's still some risk. But I think at that price tag, I think there is quite a bit of upside. And I mean, really outside of that below, I mean, there's only kind of one other guy that I would really talk about as far as a play on DraftKings. But FanDuel, it's tough. I still prefer Estrada for just 500 more. So I think this is more solely just a DK play. Just one, because it's a two-pitcher site as well.
Definitely.
So next game here, you have the Tigers and White Sox, 8.5 over under. Chicago minus 170 favorites. Mike Pelfrey, Chris Sale. Obviously, you're looking at some White Sox bats against Mike Pelfrey. On the other side, though, Chris Sale, I mean, after the terrific start, I mean, he's been kind of coming down and hasn't really been great. You're looking at that price tag. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I think his ceiling is about 20 points in this matchup. I mean,
I'm loading my shotgun in self-defense of this matchup because I don't really know who I like here. Because obviously you love Sale, but he hasn't been Chris Sale of late. Do you know what I mean? He's been sort of vulnerable, which is not the way I like my Chris Sale shares. And against this Tigers team who's really coming around of late, I mean, even Cameron Maybin kind of recovering here after his little lull there. He's below 400, but I forgive you, bro. But yeah, the lefty-righty matchup here, JD Martinez, Cabrera, Kinsler, like that worries me. And then you have Castellanos just chilling in the back batting sixth. Like that's scary. That's a good offense. So you got to like Sale in some respect. I think he can shut down any team, but in the same respect, far from a cash option, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm looking at that, that tier up there of Syndergaard, Sale, and Wright, and Estrada. And Sale comes in fourth for me. I just like, as far as GPPs, I just think the other three have so much more upside.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But it's hard to say. I mean, I don't want to completely knock Chris Sale. I mean, it is possible, but I just think slate considered, it's tough.
Okay. So when we look at that Scherzer start the other day, you were still on vacation, but he went up against who did he go up against? The team that shelled him before. Who was it?
He's been shelled a couple times this year.
he really got beat up, and then he came back and faced them again.
Was it the Cubs?
The Cubs, yeah. So the Cubs are like the best offense in the majors, and he got shelled by them the time before. But then he was Max Scherzer, and he just came out and ripped them apart. And it didn't matter like what the Cubs were doing; they were just striking out every time, no matter what. So I mean, Sale has that potential too, to just shut everyone down. But I don't know. It doesn't seem as likely,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you look at the Tigers. I mean, a ton of right-handed bats. I mean, their strikeout rate's coming down. I mean, they're back up to 10th in WOBA against lefties. So guys are starting to hit. I mean, Upton's shown a little bit of life of late. I think you kind of like that as well. I mean,
yeah, and if that starts to happen, that's super scary.
That's going to be a stack for the rest of the season. I mean, if you can work in numerous guys from that team. So for me, I think it's kind of a stay away. He's going to be at low ownership. If you are looking to kind of get some low hedging, I still don't even think it's a wise move, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened and he had a great game, but I'm not really taking that risk.
I actually don't see much ownership percentage on either. Really. I think this is just an avoid, and everyone's going to avoid it.
As far as Tigers and Sale.
Yeah.
Just one of those washes.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be 10% and Chris will be 10 to 15, but overall, I don't think people are going to want to target this either. So, yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you. Indians and Royals here, you got Corey Kluber versus Ian Kennedy, over under 7.5, Cleveland minus 138 favorites. Kluber's price tag really bugs me on DraftKings, but FanDuel I like it quite a bit at 10K.
Yeah.
You look at this Royals team. I mean, they're not the team that they used to be. I mean,
no.
You look at them. I mean, of late, the last 2 weeks, 19th in the world. I mean, a 23% strikeout rate in that span as well. A lot of injuries, a lot of guys who are banged up. I think that's kind of taken a toll with some of those names. And Kluber, I mean, that strikeout upside's there. And I think, he has potential to be kind of a safe cash game arm on FanDuel. A little bit expensive on DK for me, but I still think he's playable there as well.
Yeah, this is intriguing. DK, I'll be interested what the ownership is there, especially in cash, because I'm with you. The historical splits sort of over the last year or two are awesome for the Royals, obviously, but in terms of right now, they are striking out, they are kind of vulnerable. So this is a good matchup for Kluber right now, in my opinion. And as you mentioned on FanDuel, much better option, cash option, in my opinion there. But on DK, that's expensive for what? I mean, he's had some great starts, but that's expensive for him. So if you want to fade that, I can totally respect that.
And I think you also can look. I mean, there's no Coors game on this slate, so it's like, okay, you have the option. I mean, if there was, you're kind of like fading Kluber just to get some of those bats in because it's a higher priority.
Right.
But I mean, Kluber has been strong on the road this year. 2.23 WOBA allowed, ERA in the twos, so been pretty strong. I mean, he threw a strong game against the Royals last start out, and I can definitely see a number like that again.
Definitely.
So on the other side, I mean, Ian Kennedy's been up and down this season, but I think on this slate he just kind of falls into that. He's off my map.
Yeah, he falls into the no, because there's just that whole tier above him who pretty much you like better in that 8K range on DK. So you're kind of just strolling by him casually. You wave, but you're still strolling by,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's just a courtesy wave. Like, hey,
yeah,
maybe next time,
Yeah, we see you, Ian, but we got to go get the paper and go back inside and do some work. So,
Twins Angels here. Tyler Duffy versus Hector Santiago. 8.5 over under. LA minus 117 favorites. Even as bad as the Twins bats have been this year, I still can't take Hector Santiago. He's so bad. He's been even worse. I'm actually,
but some are. His ownership's going to be bumped up like at least 3% tonight, just because it's lefty versus the Twins. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm all about the punt and being weird plays, but I can't get behind this one. There's just not much to really get behind here. He's just gotten smoked. Like, and the strikeout rate really isn't there. So I don't see, I mean, God, I guess in a stranger things have happened than Hector Santiago getting 15 DK points and maybe like 18 or 20 FanDuel points, but I don't think that's like his ceiling, you know? So I don't think we're really looking for that. Guys, we can do better.
Yeah,
We can do better.
I like Twins bats actually against some site. I mean,
Yeah.
the positive for him is he hasn't given up a homer in 2 games, but he's given up 8 runs in over the last 5 innings in those 2 starts. So
yeah, the real bummer and takeaway from this game is Robbie Grossman up to 3,500 on DK. That's a bummer. He was like the min for quite a while there. So seeing him up there, kind of a bummer. On DK or on FanDuel, he's 3,700. So I mean that's a bummer too.
well, good things can't stay forever, Russ.
Dude, it's happened so many times already this year. The only guy that consistently stays in the below 3 is Ichiro, and he's the one guy you need to be bumping up huge, but they just leave him down there. So I can't complain yet because he's still chilling down there. Batting 340 and getting 2 hits and a stolen base every night.
Well, they're doing that for you. I mean,
I really appreciate it. It really makes things easier for me.
Yeah, that 3% ownership of Ichiro is just entirely your shares.
Why though? Why haven't people gotten behind the 57-year-old all-time hitter here?
Oh, I think people are just kind of maybe they're dedicated to Pete Rose. They can't use him in DraftKings. It's against the laws of Roseville.
I can see how you could dispute the hits record there, but for now, while he's hitting good for me, we're going to use that argument against everyone. So that's what we're going at.
Oh, sorry, man. I can't. I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Let's make Ichiro's ownership percentage great again. Can we do that?
That's what you want.
Hashtag.
Yeah. Make Ichiro's price great again.
No, not price. Ownership. We got to bump that up to 10%, folks. Get in there. Fight it out. 2 hits a day.
You can't do that tonight.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Keep an eye out.
All right. We'll fire off some tweets and get that going.
All right.
Tyler Duffy on the other side, not a guy I'm looking at. I think this game's actually
a good one to score against. No. Yeah, no way. The question, I guess, is for this Angels lineup is Trout good? Like, not good in terms of like good. Is he good like in terms of injury? Because I know he did leave that game the other day. I believe it was a wrist. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I think you do have to worry about that in terms of maybe his power might be a little limited right now. But yeah, I mean, so when you're looking at that in that respect, the Angels offense might be a little limited, but Cole Calhoun's hitting, nice price there. So I think there's a few guys you can go at there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a good point about Trout. I think, we'll go into it a little bit more on the DK and FT pods because, those hand issues when you are batting is something to kind of, check on because that does kind of limit your power.
Mm-hmm.
So last game of the night here, we got the Rangers and A's. Derek Holland versus Sonny Gray. Over-under of 8, Oakland minus 138 favorites here. These games have been high scoring. I mean, you're starting to pick up into the summertime. Obviously, a couple bad pitchers have been in this series, but overall, I'm looking at Gray as far as I don't want to do this, but the 7,100 is pretty enticing, and I think in that range he has a relatively. You're giving me that look like don't do it, don't do it,
Jason. It's your first day back. That's okay. You're going through a little nostalgia right now with Sonny Gray. He was good last year. He is a nice guy, handsome guy. But I don't think I can follow you into the you can lead the charge, but I think I'm holding back. I'm gonna stay back for cover. Maybe with like a bow and arrow or something.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be running in with
Yeah, I'm gonna be staying
I'm gonna
back.
turn it like no one's gonna be there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm gonna call off the troops on you, and you're just gonna be alone. So, yeah, okay.
Okay, so let me get to my point a little bit. I mean, one, since the DLC, he's come back and he's thrown 12.2 innings, allowed 3 earned runs, struck out 9 in that span. Also faced some very capable offenses in Hitters Park. I mean, Cincinnati and Houston. I mean, those are tough parks to pitch in against tough teams. I mean, the Reds have been playing better of late. Though that Houston front five, I mean, they're still more capable of beating on bad pitchers, and they did before with Gray. So he came out and threw it strong. I mean, you look at Oakland, I mean, decent favorite. You like those bats against Holland as well. I mean, guys like Valencia, Davis. So I think you can kind of get some run support there. One of the better ballparks to pitch in. Obviously, it hasn't really shown this series, but I still think it is a reasonable when you know how to pitch there, and Gray does. You look at the Texas lineup. I mean, a lot of left-handed bats. I mean, over Gray's career, I mean, 281 will be the lefties. Yes, there's some risk, but I think if you want to pay up with a Kluber or you want to really load up on some bats, I do think a 15 to 18-point DK outing, and I'm only looking at him on DraftKings as an SB2, is reasonable for Gray. But obviously, yes, the floor is much lower. But I think GPP's he's going to be low owned and offers a pretty big discount.
That's fair. I think that's fair. And he's one of those mid-range guys on a 10-game slate where you differentiate yourself for sure. As you mentioned, the ownership is not going to be there. People are not going to be on him. So if he does get that 20 to 25 points, that's probably around his ceiling. I think that is in his range of outcomes today. As you mentioned, strong against lefties in terms of sort of what his splits look like. I just worry about okay, so I will say I got to give some daps to Ryan Howard and Prince Fielder. They've both hit home runs within the last week, so I can probably my not hatred, but my pooping on them pretty much every slate. I think that's dissipating a little bit. So Prince has hit 2 home runs in the last week. I think he's above 200 in batting average now. So I think I'm going to leave him alone. Anyway, I kind of like this Rangers lineup, though. I think they're frisky with Profar, or Odor, and Mazzara. But yeah, I agree. That's a fair take and a fair tournament swerve for sure.
Yeah, and I think the names you mentioned obviously scary. I mean, those three have been hitting well all year, and yeah, I mean, Fielder is up over 200. He's at a whopping 203. And
hey, you know what? It didn't take much, but he was chilling at 190 for a solid month. It was bad.
Yeah, no, it was brutal, but Gray's gonna be 5% or less owned.
Yeah.
And I think if you do want to stack some big bats and kind of get all the way across or pay up for a Kluber and kind of heighten and be a little bit different, I'm going to go that way in a couple lineups, but I'm not. Once again, I'm not going to be the one who expects him not to get shelled if that comes about. I'll take it like a man.
Definitely.
So on the other side, I mean, Holland's not really in play for me. He's pitched pretty well of late, but I still think on a slate like this, I kind of like Valencia. I like Davis a little bit more. I like some of those Oakland bats.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like Valencia. He is good, not hashtag good.
That's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all the great tools and content.